Welcome everyone, I'm Ryan Nicholas. Welcome to Green Unicorn. I'm Ryan Nicholas Gray. My friend here is...
Hello, welcome to the Unicorn. My name is Allen County Castle.
Thank you, Aaron. Today we are pleased to welcome Brad Hewing, the director of the Judson Center. Hope to learn how the services of the Judson Center can help offer those listening to individuals with disabilities and achieve long-term success in the work and in life. So would you please welcome Mr. Brad Hewing. Mr. Hewing, thanks for coming down, my good friend.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
So Brad, can you tell us about where you grew up and what college did you attend?
I grew up in the Texas area.
Okay.
Grew up in Dallas, and after graduating high school there from a local high school, I went to Baylor University and got a degree in psychology.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
So what degree did you pursue in college?
I began college, kind of looking at an area of pre-med, and quickly found out I wasn't so strong in some of those sciences. So I did a little pivot and went toward the field of psychology. Ended up graduating from the Baylor University with a bachelor's degree in psychology.
So how did your college degree lead you to your current position?
Well, I would say my college degree actually really led me to a graduate degree that then brought me to my field of choice. I was graduating Baylor University, and with a bachelor's degree in psychology, knew I needed to do something in terms of a master's degree to have a more marketable skill. And so I was applying to colleges there in the Texas area, was accepted to a couple of colleges, and made plans to go to a particular one in East Texas. And then sort of at the 11th hour, I get a call from Texas Tech University, which is out in the West Texas area, that they had a fairly new program that they were implementing within their psychology department. And they were going to have some monies that were made available to them through the federal government as they were looking at persons who they were trying to attract more people into the field of working with people with disabilities. And so after I had all these plans to go to this one college in East Texas, I got the call from Texas Tech about this special program that they housed within their counseling psychology department with a specialization in rehabilitation. And so I accepted their offer and went to Texas Tech at that point. And it was really there with that degree and the specialization that drew me to that field of disability.
Did you need any additional degrees?
Well, with the master's degree, that really gave me the entree into the field to where I could assume a position as a counselor, and I did that with the Texas Rehabilitation Commission. So if you think about Michigan here, you have what's called Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and I was working with its counterpart in the state of Texas coming out of my graduate program, and began right away working with people with disabilities. And the interesting part about that program I went through is because there were federal funds made available to attract more people into that field, because they were helping through pay your tuition and your costs through that master's program, you had to make a commitment to them. And the commitment was that you would stay in the field for at least as long as they provided educational assistance to you. So that would have meant I needed to stay in the field for about 18 months to honor the commitment that they provided to me with those educational dollars. And I've kind of gone a little bit beyond 18 months now. It's been over 40 years that I've been doing this, so I think I honored the commitment that they had asked me to make to them.
What led you to the Judson Center?
Well, as each one of us experience in life, sometimes you have sort of a difficult circumstance that gives rise to a great opportunity. And so for me, I had been with another human service agency for about 12 or 13 years. And then there was some reorganization, some restructuring of the management folks who were there. and my position got eliminated by that organization. So it was that sort of difficult circumstance that gave me the opportunity to kind of see the position that Judson Center was offering, and it was as the director of their vocational services programming. So I just recognize that sometimes things happen in life that can be rather difficult, but if you can look beyond that to the opportunity that comes, it can be a pretty good experience, and that's what I've had.
I'm really something good came out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Almost 5 years worth.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot more depressing when it doesn't.
Yeah. That would be tough.
Did you have any earlier experiences with people disabled?
I did. When I came out of that master's degree program, and because it was focused on working with people with disabilities around rehabilitation and employment, first of all, I got experience within my program of study of just associating with people with disability, people looking for opportunity, and began to understand more about the services that could be structured in a community to provide those opportunities. So I kind of began that in my college years. And then as I moved into my professional career, I've had experiences that have been both in what's called the public sector. So you think about all those funds that come from federal and state government for services for people who have needs or circumstances that need some resource. So I've had both the public sector experience through Texas Rehabilitation Commission and a couple of other nonprofits that I worked with before coming to Judson Center. But I also had experience in what's called the private sector. So after working on that public sector side for a few years, I got involved in a private area of rehabilitation for people that had sustained injury and disability, and it took them out of the workforce. And the role and responsibility then was to work with those individuals, the employers where they had left, with the medical professionals providing care and treatment to try and facilitate the return to work. And so I did that for probably about 15 or so years. And then I sort of migrated back to the public sector, working with in the mental health field here in Oakland County. And I've done that for about 20 years in about 3 different locations. And so I've had really a career full of experiences working with people with disabilities, injuries, things that have created real challenges for them in life.
Okay. Why did you choose to work with those with disabilities?
Why did I choose that?
Yep.
Well, if I'm honest with you, it sort of chose me before I chose it. When I was talking about going to get my master's degree, when Texas Tech University called me and said, hey, they had some dollars available for scholarships and stipends to help people live and all that while you go to school, that was really like music to my ears to hear that opportunity that was there. So to have education that could be covered and you could focus on your studies. And so in that sense, it sort of chose me before I then chose it. And again, sort of one of those opportunities that come when you're just sort of looking for those next steps in life.
Yep. When the opportunity comes, take it.
Yeah. Got to do that.
If you don't, you might regret it.
Exactly. You never know. You may regret it someday.
Tell us about the services at the Judson Center.
Sure. What I want to share with you about Judson Center is that while I am a director over what's called vocational services, there's 3 other areas of service. Judson's a pretty unique agency in that it has 4 major areas of service focus. And one of the really key areas, in fact, how Judson began back over 94 years ago. Judson is a pretty old agency in terms of its presence and its services. And one of the largest components of services now has to deal with children and families. So, there's a lot of stressors in life that kind of take families apart, and some services that come alongside and provide resource to them to kind of hold families together, to preserve that family. There's an aspect of child and family services that deals with that, as well as persons who are, those children involved in the foster care, adoption arenas. So Judson has a very robust programming that works on taking these young ones up through teenage years and helping them find that what's called forever family. So kind of merging that person available for adoption into that family that kind of has them a point of connection for the rest of their life. And so that's a really key part of what Judson does. A second area that Judson's very involved in has to do with autism services. And several years ago, Judson, I think, began to recognize that just the increase of what was happening in the autism field, that there was a need to provide services that met the needs of many of those really young kids who were being diagnosed with autism and had not really had some interventions or therapies that were making a difference in their life. And so Judson has really developed a great program that deals with applied behavioral analysis. It's a certain kind of therapy that helps us young kids really learn more about that relating to others and communication and just managing the environment. And it's just really a joy to watch that around our campus and see those young kids who are getting that kind of support and service. And the neat thing about it is that they provide that kind of service not just at our campus, but they do it in home as well for persons. So that's kind of a second area. The third area that's also there is the behavioral health services or the mental health field that is there. Judson has a great program that involves physicians and therapists and case management services. One of the newer things that Judson has brought into that behavioral health arena in the last little bit is that idea of what's called integrated care. And so you have services provided by perhaps a psychiatrist and a therapist that deal with the behavioral health, the mental health need. But a lot of times there's underlying kind of physical, medical situations that need to be addressed as well so that the whole person is addressed, not just part of the person. And so they're really incorporating now some of that integrated care into the behavioral health program. So child and family services, autism, behavioral health, and then vocational services, which is the area that I'm the director over. So I'm one of 4 directors at Judson. Each one has a director over the line of services.
Cool.
So that's what Judson Center is about in sort of a general sense, and we're just pleased to be one of those 4 things, and really one of the, I think, few agencies that has that diversity of services to meet children, families, adults, communities. Judson is very visible in the 5 counties, kind of southeast Michigan area with offices in each of those 5 counties. But they're also a part of the Child and Family Services programming that has statewide reach, in which they serve as a resource to those who are looking around that adoption and the Adoption Resource Exchange area. So Judson is a great organization with multiple services, and what we're finding is that there is some great connection between services that we need to just facilitate even more. For example, in the work that we do in this field of persons with disabilities and finding community connection and employment that take place, is that like every one of us, we began as a little child, and children have a way of growing up, and as they grow up, sometimes they have other connection points there. So, so we're seeing in our autism program, for example, we're seeing these young kids beginning in the autism programming and getting supports and services up through their teen years. And then there's a very natural handoff that can take place to those who are pursuing employment. So we're finding that that sort of what's called synergy within Judson is one of those unique things that maybe sets us apart from other agencies that can do the same thing, but they have to do it with other agencies, and we can kind of do it within our own agency.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Thanks, Aaron. You're the best.
You're welcome.
So how can we access these services, and are there any available in all areas in Michigan?
A good bit of Judson services, and I'll kind of talk, if I can, about all of Judson for just a minute before I get to my specific area.
Sure you can.
Because it deals with, you've heard of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and there's a whole lot that falls under that umbrella. And so a lot of our child and family services fall under that umbrella. Much of our behavioral health services comes up under that umbrella, as does some of the autism services, and certainly that's where we sort of connect. So if you think about what are those sort of public entities that provide resources and services and fund those things. So you might think about, that Department of Human, the DHS, those offices that are there. We think about the community mental health authorities that are in place that also serve as a resource. When it gets specific to our area, we do a lot of community mental health connection points, but we also are connecting with people through the state vocational rehabilitation entities. So by that, I mean Michigan Rehabilitation Services. We're also working with the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. So in my area, we're working with disabilities of all types. We have those with developmental disability, autism specifically, mental health, visual impairment, physical type disability, and sometimes more than one at a time a person may be challenged by. But we're just finding that as we're working with these different resources that would refer people to us, so that's how they get to us. They're referred by these entities who have the funding, and they need to have people receive the services that they're funding, and they come to a Judson Center. And so we work with all of those different funding services to make sure the monies fit together well for each person served, that they get the optimal result.
Excellent. So what age can people get services?
Wow. All ages. I mean, if you think about the Child and Family Services, I mean, they can start pretty young there, particularly those in the adoption and foster care arena. You're seeing a lot of the young kids in our autism programming. In our mental health sector, you have both some children and then the adult areas. In my vocational area, we focus a lot, mostly on the 18 and older, so the adult population. However, in the last couple of years, we've had a great opportunity to participate with the state vocational rehabilitation entities around younger persons with disabilities who are still in school, and maybe they're 16, 17 years old, not yet really reached the adult area of 18, 19, and they just remain in school. So they're providing some opportunity for those students with disabilities to get a summer work experience. So if you kind of think about a lot of us, when you're kind of going through school and all that, you go to school during a typical year. In the summer, a lot of folks go get a job. They make some money, and then they go back to school in the fall. And so what's been neat is that it's given a lot of these younger persons with disabilities an experience that they might not have had in years past, so that they're kind of standing shoulder to shoulder with their peers in those summer work experiences and getting the same opportunities that they are. So that's kind of where we have a little bit dip to a little bit younger age during that summertime, but most of the time we're the older, 18 and older.
What type of jobs do you train people for?
Well, there's no one job that fits everybody, right?
Right.
Everybody has their own idea about what they want to do and where they want to go with that.
Yep.
And so we really take an approach that says we need to understand the individual, and we need to know what it is that they have interest in, what they're passionate about, where they have skills, and then begin from there. And so we've actually had the opportunity to have people come to us and then end up in employment that runs the whole continuum. I mean, we've had some folks that we have worked with that have gone into an insurance field doing some things with, like, for example, a Blue Cross Blue Shield. So those were some students with disability who were going through some, even beyond the high school years, getting additional education, but needed a real practical work experience. And so things like that. We work with some who've kind of gone through a program beyond high school, gotten special skills and abilities, but just needed somebody to help facilitate the contact with an employer, to find the opportunity, create the connection, and then support them as whatever the need is. So we've seen that whole continuum from what you might call an entry-level job that a lot of us start in when you're younger and that kind of thing. But as you acquire skills and abilities, then you begin to find employment that's more at that new level of experience. And so we just have run that whole gamut to where we've done, insurance field, automotive field, education field, hospitality, virtually every industry you want to. So the only thing that limits us is the person in front of us. And what we find is that if we understand what they want, then we can help facilitate that. We'll find the right connection point, so we're not limited to just a couple of employers.
Are these jobs paid positions or volunteer?
The majority of what we do is paid positions.
Okay. Ooh,
Now,
well, that's cool.
We do have some volunteer things we do. For example, if we're beginning to work with someone and maybe they've kind of come through a school experience but never really had a job, they might benefit from some volunteer experience just kind of get the sense of what it is to sort of get up every day, go to a place, be part of a team, accomplishing a task that's required there. And so sometimes the volunteer opportunities became the training ground for them. And then once they've sort of gotten acclimated to what it is to be up and at a place and connected every day and getting a little more insight to their own interest and ability, then we help move them on into that paid position, which is where most people want to be.
Thank you. Aaron?
That's right. What I'm trying to say is if I want to, you could help me find a job, right?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
We have worked with a lot of folks. I think in just this past year we assisted about 80 people finding their way to that
80 people?
80. Whoa.
competitive paid employment.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, you're right. That's what everybody wants to be in life.
Okay.
Everyone's have a job. Everyone's have a job, Aaron.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that is so important. I mean, that is really an important thing because a lot of us we have a lot of things we're connected to in life. Family and school and perhaps church and recreational activities, and a lot of times that sort of last opportunity that's there for that person with disability is that breakthrough to find that job.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is the place where we need to keep working to help them break that barrier and connect there.
Yeah. Again, sometimes it's just needed to survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Got to have a little bit of money to keep things moving.
Yep. Do you offer any fun programs like dancing or anything like that?
You mean fun stuff?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Dancing kind of fun things to do.
We do have some of that as part of our sort of extended programming, if you will. For example, we have our program has been doing this for about, let's see, what is it now, 32 years. So not the 94 that Judson's done it, but we've had the vocational programming about 32 years. And so we've kind of created a lot of great relationships with people over the years. And so each year around that sort of between Thanksgiving, New Year time, that holiday season, we put together a party for those that we have been supporting and serving through that year, just to come and enjoy and have a little gift for them as well, as just a thank you for being a part of our group that's there. And so we do that as kind of a very formal thing. And then in terms of some of our programming, besides some of the other kind of skill building activities we do around persons, just to get more comfortable with what it means to fully be included in the community, to engage the community fully, to manage interpersonal relationships and all that. We're trying to arrange a few more of those fun things, as Aaron's referring to. So maybe it's an outing to a place that people just want to go and just enjoy the day with a bunch of friends and all that. So we're trying to incorporate that into our programming as well, because we know that's still a part of that whole community integration engagement that's so important.
Do you have any additional services we have not yet covered?
Nothing's really jumping to mind in terms of a major service. I hope I've given a pretty good overview of Judson Center and the 4 service areas. Well, I could mention one or two things now come to mind as you ask that question, and I keep thinking about it, is that in some of our autism arena, and so this sort of connects to our vocational program, is that they do some things around what's called life skills. And so you're thinking about, okay, I want to have a place of my own. What's involved in getting a place of my own? what does it mean to sort of maintain my own place, my own household, and all that. So there are some of those kind of life skills programming that is a part of it. And then one of the things too I know that's in our autism area that I think is a really good part of their programming is that as they are working with the child and the family, there may be other children, perhaps a little bit older children in the family. And sometimes that older child feels like they may need just a little bit of attention, and so they have these, what they call SIB shops, in which they are kind of providing an experience for, the brothers and sisters of persons with autism in terms of just, what that experience is, what you can learn from that, how do you sort of, move through some of the more difficult moments, and just have that be a wonderful family experience. They do some of those other things just to kind of reach out to others as well.
Oh, cool.
Well, Aaron, I'm going to close now so you can get this interview over with.
Okay.
I'd like to thank Mr. Irwin for coming down for this terrific interview.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And I'd like to thank the Judson Center for all the hard work they do for those with disabilities. Our show is to provide an audience information programs about we can help them to live productive and fulfilling lives. We believe the Judson Center is doing a very good job in assisting us in achieving our goals. I'm Ryan Nicholas Gray.
I'm Emanuel Castle.
And watching Community Corner. Until then, good night.